Hello and greetings to everyone, wherever you are, whenever you are. My name is Steve, aka the Bird Watcher, and I'm so happy you found my channel. I'm a brand new Baltimore Orioles dedicated channel, and my angle for my channel is two things I plan to focus on. One, and the major thing being, I will be doing play-by-play live streaming here on YouTube for every single Orioles game this regular season and hopefully well into October. And along with that, perhaps on off days or just days where it seems fitting, a podcast. And basically, these are things that I'm cultivating in order to establish an Orioles sort of community here, a daily community, which I don't feel is necessarily represented on YouTube. There are some channels out there that are Orioles dedicated, and I suggest you go check them out. The biggest one that comes to mind is the Locked On Orioles podcast. Connor Newcomb hosts that, and he does an excellent job of keeping up with all the latest news going on with the Orioles, roster moves, working around contract situations, and a lot of front office stuff that I personally can only try and keep up with, but I don't try to really put too much opinion into that. I'm more of a manager. I'm the guy in the dugout. I think I'm pretty good at strategy, in-game strategy. I like to focus on the game. When it comes to off-season stuff, and speculating about trades and free agency and player service time versus how many options do we have on this guy? What's the right move with this guy? Like, that's all very difficult to keep up with, and I am starting to get more and more acclimated. I want to jump right into what I want to talk about today. But before I do, I just want to explain to those who might say, well, Steve is my regular name, the Bird Watcher, whatever you want to call me. Hello, Rishi Rich. Hey, Rich, if you don't mind, let me know if the audio sounds okay, because I haven't done a stream on this channel in a while. And, yeah. So, I already lost my train of thought. Yeah, I'm going to be covering the Orioles this year. And unfortunately, spring training, which is the whole purpose, is to sort of get yourself prepared for the season to come. If you're a player, if you're an umpire, or whatever. Well, being a new channel, I needed spring training too. And the idea was to do some play-by-play calling for some spring training games. I've only been able to do two, unfortunately, because the schedule that tells me what's going to be on TV and what isn't hasn't exactly been accurate. And that combined with the fact that I live halfway around the world, where pretty much day is night, night is day, wherever you are on the East Coast, it's 12 hours or 11 hours different where I am. So, but despite being halfway around the world, I am a passionate Orioles fan, and I cannot wait to cover this team this season. So today, I felt like, well, I'm not going to be doing my other stream. I have another channel, different kind of channel. But because of some scheduling things, I have to be somewhere during those normal stream times. But I do have some time early in the morning, and I just wanted to go over a couple of things since I haven't done a podcast in a couple of weeks. And first of all, let me just tell you about games that will be coming up that I will be covering. As you can see, we're now entering our final week. The Orioles do not have a Monday game. And then we wrap up our final week with games against the Blue Jays, Phillies, Red Sox, Pirates, a split squad with the Rays and Jays. And then finally the Twins, which I'm not sure if that's a... Typically those last games are played like... That might be played in Minnesota. I'm honestly not sure. But then as you can see, a 3-day... off period before opening day on the 28th against the Angels. Now, because I live way the heck out where I do, other than the very first spring training game that was a 1 o'clock start, I was willing to bite the bullet and cover that game in the middle of the night. knowing that in the regular season I'm going to be covering games in the middle of the night a lot, especially early in the season when there's a lot of these sort of afternoon first pitch times. I felt like it's probably for the best that I'm not covering a lot of these games, or they're not on TV like I thought. Because I need to save that energy for the 162 games, probably 40 of which are going to be at a time that isn't too agreeable with me, but I'm dedicated to this. So if that doesn't tell you how crazy of a experiment, project, whatever you want to call it, that I'm embarking on here, if that doesn't show some dedication, I don't know what does. So if anything, you might want to consider subscribing and checking in with this channel just to see, how my well-being is doing, attempting to do what I'm doing here. Right, so as far as covering games play-by-play leading up to the regular season, I'm looking at this 3-day block here from the 20th through the 22nd. You got the Phillies, Red Sox, and Pirates. All three games have a 6:05 p.m. first pitch, which for me is 5:05 a.m. Unfortunately, daylight savings time has made this even earlier for me than it would have been otherwise. It would have been 6:05 a.m. Now it goes back an hour. But hey, I need to get myself prepared. And this is the best way to do it. 3 games back to back to back. And that's the plan. I'm assuming all 3 of these games are going to be televised. Maybe not by Masson. Maybe not by... It's probably going to be by the other team. Maybe one of them will be Masson. Maybe I'll only be able to do 2 of the 3. But either way... keep an eye out. If you are subscribed, I'll put a post up in the community tab letting you know when I do indeed plan on covering at least a couple of these games. And then the weekend, I'll probably just start gearing up for leading up to opening day. Again, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed with this new channel. As you can see, it's very bare bones. I don't have any Orioles merch behind me. I don't know if you could tell. I have a hat. Where's the hat? I got my Orioles hat sitting around here somewhere. I bought a poster that the plan was to put like right here in place of my Midsommar poster. Maybe flip that one over on this side. But the poster is about half the size I thought it would be. So that didn't go too well. Hello, Thomas. Good evening. Thomas, you're just in time. I just did a very long intro, and now I'm ready to get down to brass tacks. So the big thing I want to talk about today is what is our roster going to look like come opening day, and how should we strategize when we are in a position that, it's a good problem to have. We've got a lot of players fighting for limited spots, and at the end of the day, unless we can pull off a trade or something like that, somebody's who's probably deserving of an opening day spot on the roster isn't going to make the cut. But I think I may have come up with a plan. So we're going to talk about that. All right? I'm going to talk about that anyway. And here, let me... I should move this that way in case anybody does want to chat along and ask questions or leave comments. They can feel free to do so, and I can see it better. Right. So if you've been following the Orioles this spring, they have been absolutely crushing it. Now, obviously, spring training results in terms of final scores and wins and losses don't have much of a bearing. So what birds are looking for today? Wow, my first question, and I don't even know how to read it. So what birds are looking for? Are there words out of order, or is there a missing word? So what birds are looking for today? I'm stumped, Dead Space. It's good to see you, though. Right. So if you've been following the Orioles, as I've been saying, there have been a couple of particular players that at the beginning of spring weren't certainly not looked at as locks. So what birds are we looking for? Today? Well, we're going to look at a couple of birds. The 2 birds that have made the most noise in spring that weren't necessarily thought of to be shots at making the opening day roster. The one that I have been on the hype train about since day one is Kobe Mayo. And if you look at my recent podcasts, the previous one was pretty much a Kobe Mayo special. And ever since I've done that podcast, Kobe Mayo just continues to mash to the degree where it's like, what are you going to do? Yesterday, he went 4 for 4, folks. Let's take a look at Kobe Mayo and his spring stats. Of course, Thomas. Well, you need to know a little more about the guy who's going to haunt your nightmares for the next 8 to 12 years, right? He's made 19 appearances. Obviously, you usually only get a couple at-bats in these games. But he's gone 15 for 41. That's good for a 366 average, scoring 5 runs, 7 doubles. 7 doubles. All right? To go with his home run, 11 RBI, and has walked 6 times as well. So an on-base percentage of .458. Hey, Louie. Lou, are you subbed? It's good to see you, Lou. As you can see, that gives him a lofty 366 average, 458 on base, slugging over 600, OPS over 1,000. I mean, these are the numbers you look at and you go, who is this, Austin Riley? Well, if you've seen highlights of this guy, if he was wearing a Braves uniform, you might mistake him for Austin Riley because they're built pretty much the same. They seem to have the same amount of power, right-handed hitter. There's a lot left to be decided on just how good of a glove he has. But the offense is there. And, hey, thanks, Lou. When you look at the Orioles roster, it would be nice to have another threat from the right side. Even though we play at a ballpark now where it really favors left-handed hitting, you don't want to get too unbalanced. You know, you go up against a lefty starter who notoriously shuts down left-handed batters. Well, you're almost asking to lose before you even start a game. So here was my plan. You know, you look at Jackson Holliday and you're thinking, well, you want him on the opening day roster. You're looking at Kobe Mayo and you're going, gee, it'd sure be nice to have him. And then you got another guy who just earlier today is making noise and is now leading the entire Grapefruit League, maybe all of spring training in home runs, and that's one Kyle Stowers. This guy hit 3 home runs against the Tigers earlier today. He's got 7 home runs in spring. He's 26 years old, and he's been in a situation for the past couple of years where he's kind of been like that guy just on the verge of maybe getting a call up. I mean, he has seen major league action, but just a cup of coffee, you know. But in the pecking order of Oriole outfielders, Stowers is behind in the pecking order, at least conventional wisdom would say, the likes of Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad, both who have no guarantee of making the opening day roster themselves. They're already looked at as being ahead of Stowers in the pecking order, plus they're younger. They just have a higher degree of pedigree, and their prospect rank would lead one to believe that they're more of the future than Stowers is. But I'm saying, well, we got to do something with this guy. I mean, if he's going to be raking like this, hitting 3 home runs in the game, it's the first time a major league player has hit 3 home runs in a spring game since 2018. Cal Raleigh did that. So, yeah, you could say, well, you know, hey, anything can happen in a game. That's how baseball is, you know. Somebody out of nowhere hits 3 home runs in a game and no one's done it since X amount of time. Yeah, that's, you know, maybe you're reading too much into one thing. But look, 7 home runs on the season. He's driven in 13. But I'm not convinced that I feel like this is a situation where the rest of baseball now knows the name Kyle Stowers. He's on MLB.com right now on the front page. The rest of baseball knows this guy's name. This is the highest stock this player has had and probably will have. I feel like we should be looking for a trade partner because, again, I don't know where we're going to fit him. Yeah, Thomas, the one thing that could, make a decision about what to do with so many players vying for so little spots is injuries. Now, obviously, I want to keep my fingers crossed. I want everybody to stay healthy, but I'm sitting there racking my brain going, how can we get Jackson Holliday and Kobe Mayo and Kyle Stowers into a team where there really are only like a couple of open spots? Well, this is my solution, okay? I'm looking at this schedule, and I'm seeing a lot of off days, as one tends to see in the beginning of a baseball season. They put a lot of off days in there. You have opening day followed by an off day. We'll flip it over to April here. You finish out 2 games with the Angels, so it's 5 straight games. Kansas City, then an off day. 3 games against the Pirates, and then an off day, right? And then 3 against the Red Sox here before coming back for a home series beginning Friday the 12th against the Brewers. Now, when it comes to a player like Jackson Holliday, you might be familiar with a team's practice with a blue-chip prospect like this who they plan to call up and never send back down again. This is a generational talent that they're expecting big things from for many, 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 many years. And he's still only 20 years old. He still looks like he's 15 years old. Of course, none of that really matters when you look at the hard, fast numbers, but I guess the big question on everybody's mind is it worth putting Holliday on the opening day roster if you can get to this day right here, which is April 13th, Saturday against the Brewers? I hate how I hover over everything and it blocks what I'm trying to point at. But yeah, if you can just look at the second row there on the 13th of April, that's the second of a 3-game series against the Brewers. That date is the 16-day timeline when you're talking about a player's service time. So if he had a guy like Jackson Holliday and he began him in the minor leagues, he would just have to spend a couple of weeks down there plus 2 days, and you'd be able to call him up on that Saturday, and then that would earn him in a full extra year of team control, which to me makes sense to do for a variety of reasons. I already went over this on the previous podcast, but I'll try to just break down what the obvious reasons would be. One is an extra year of control on Jackson Holliday in trade for skipping 2 weeks of baseball. Now, yeah, it would be great for him to come out with the team. And in fact, I believe if he begins the year with the team and it makes him eligible for like a compensation draft pick, if he were like to win the Rookie of the Year like Gunnar Henderson did last year, and of course if you were to, take 2 weeks away from Holliday, that might hurt his chances of going after Rookie of the Year. But honestly, I just want to see the guy come up and acclimate into the majors without too many bumps and bruises and become, a plus player on the team. Many great talents have come up and take time to adjust and they have their struggles. I mean, if you look at Colton Cowser last year, we can talk about what he's doing this spring. Colton Cowser's absolutely tearing it up. But where are those stats? Yeah, Cowser right now hitting .364. 4 homers, 9 RBI. His OPS, 1.246. Slugging .758. I mean, this is ridiculous. I know it's spring training, but Cowser's in there in the opening lineup facing other teams' opening, potential starters and whatnot. He's not facing the absolute dregs. But yeah, Cowser. Where am I at now? Why is this open? There's nothing there. Last thing I need is a tab open with nothing there. All right. So here's my plan. Let me just try and I'm terrible at focusing. Maybe the plan is to like write things down and then go bullet by bullet point. All right. So Thomas, you're probably familiar with this. Hello, Pool, by the way. The Major League roster has 26 spots, and conventionally or typically, however you want to put it, most teams are going to carry themselves 13 pitchers and 13 position players. That seems, just 13 to 13, that alone by pure definition is balance, but it provides just enough coverage in the bullpen, it would seem, where you can play situational matchups with middle relievers, have yourself maybe a couple of long men in there, along with your 5-man rotation, and then that pretty much allows for a backup catcher and then a few spots on your bench to cover an infield spot, an outfield spot, and then maybe sort of like a super utility guy. This is what I propose, all right? Again, looking back at this schedule, considering the off days, now I want us to consider who we're playing, okay? At home to the Angels, at home to the Kansas City Royals, at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's just stop right there. You take those games and then add in the 8th. I can't stand that I can't hover over. I can't even hover over a blank day without some other. Okay, boom. I'm now hovering over a blank day. Oh, there we go. God, I'll never use this page again. Anyway, we can get all the way to the 9th and start our series with the Red Sox, where what was the point I was going to make? Yeah, it's a great start to the schedule. Yeah, I guess that's what my point is that between the off days and the ease of the schedule, I feel like we ought to utilize that, keep Jackson Holliday in AAA, earn that extra year of team control, and also, by the way, do this in such a way that isn't bad business or bad optics or creates any sort of animosity with your potential phenom star. You take him aside and you say, hey, look, Jackson, I don't know if you've been okay, that already sounds sarcastic and snarky. Let me start over. Hey, Jackson, listen. We see nothing but great things for you in this organization, right? But we're looking at how the team can be best helped to start the season, and we really feel like and that's the other thing I failed to mention. If you look at the rotations of these teams that we're playing, odds are we're going to face a lot of left-handed starters, and that's just another. If we're facing easy teams and they're throwing out left-handed pitching, I just feel like Jackson Holliday Holliday's basically replacing Adam Frazier, right? Like, I feel like we can do that with Jordan Westberg. I feel like we can do that with Ramon Urias. Yeah, the Brewers are the only team to worry about pretty much once we get up to that service time period. And this is where all the stuff's going to happen, is that weekend going into the Brewers. Here, let me bring this up. So, yeah, the point I was trying to make that I keep diverting from is that I am ready to go with a 26-man roster that has 14 position players and only 12 pitchers. I'm saying we go one less pitcher. And this is why. First of all, up until that service time day on the 13th, there is only one game in here where you need a 5th starter. And that's because, if we go back to March here, starting on the 30th here, you have the 2 games against the Angels, followed directly by 3 games against Kansas City, and then you get an off day. So that's 5 straight games without a day off. That's the only such stretch until you get to over here with that service time thing. So if we can just bite the bullet, and this would be the day, that last game against the Royals, which, by the way, is a getaway game, so Kansas City probably sitting Sally Perez or whoever their starting catcher is, maybe 1 or 2 other normal starters, while we will be as well. But this is a situation where, look, all right. Right now, people are saying the rotation is Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, Dean Kramer, Tyler Wells, and Cole Irvin. I'm saying let's take Irvin, put him in the pen as a long reliever, okay? And just go with a 4-man rotation, all right? Until we get to when we need one again, which again, 5 straight games, 3 with Boston, and then that Saturday game with the Brewers. That's when you make one of 2 moves, okay? That's when Irvin would then move up into the rotation, right? SP5, Irvin, would move there. And then your long relief lefty, you go and you call up Cole Irvin. Or excuse me, that's who I was just talking about. Keegan Aiken. Aiken's having a nice spring, by the way. If we go over to these pitching stats. Aiken in 7 1/3 innings, 10 strikeouts to 1 walk, a .27 ERA, and a .043 batting average against. He's been absolutely unhittable. He deserves a spot as a lefty long man, and that's really the only spot for him. And if we can just I just keep clicking on the wrong things. If we can put Cole Irvin, if we can keep Aiken in the minors and have Irvin be that spot and get away with a 4-man rotation, minus that one game against Kansas City. Maybe you just don't pitch Irvin a day or 2 before that Kansas City game, and he'll have enough in him to go 5 innings. This is my projected long reliever right-hander, Suarez. He's having a good spring as well. In fact, let's take a look at Suarez's number. Andrew Suarez, he's gone 9 innings with a 1.11 ERA. 3 walks to 4 strikeouts, not too impressive. But opponent's only hitting 206 off of him. I mean, these are the kind of numbers that for a long man, sure, I'll take it. With some upside. It's probably going to come down between Suarez and Julio Teheran, and I believe Teheran is making a start in the next Orioles game. But Teheran, I'm sorry, the ERAs are over here. Yeah, Teheran's got an ERA closer to 5. The walks, a little concerning, 5 and 9 1/3. I'm not too keen on Julio Teheran. But, let's get back to this rotation. Now, when I think of who the best starters are on the Orioles staff, I think Tyler Wells is a better starting pitcher, at least while he can start, than Dean Kramer is. But since Kramer made like 30 starts last season, while Tyler Wells had to shut it down because he can only go so many innings, that sort of, by default, makes Kramer higher up in the depth chart, right? But if we plan on using Wells simply as a starter in the first half of the season, maybe we only use him in the rotation until John Means comes back, which could be as early May. Or if we plan on keeping him there until Bradish comes back, which, let's say that's the All-Star break. Well, pretty good timing because it was at the All-Star break last season that Wells had that great first half and then had to shut it down. So this is basically a Bradish holding spot. But I do feel like we should, even though I like Wells better than Kramer, especially in this early schedule, this is sort of the schedule of arms I have. All right? Which would see, leading up to that April 13th special day I'm talking about, where we're going to make a couple of moves, you got Burns on opening day, and you just pitch him every 5 days. And we're lucky because every 5 days from opening day, there's no off day. He doesn't have to sit there with a day of rest. We got him out there against the Angels. We got him out there for a game against the Royals. Next series, he's out against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, he will miss the Red Sox series, but then he's out there again on the 12th against the Brewers. Now, in that time, everybody else is only making 3 starts, and in some cases 2, because of these off days. All right? So, even with a 4-man rotation, a guy like Tyler Wells might only make 2 starts. So, even though I like him more, I'm going to put him in that 2-start situation where he pitches on the 1st of April and the 9th of April, and even though there's an 8-day gap in there, he's the kind of pitcher that, maybe 3-4 days, somewhere in the middle of that, he could come in and pitch an inning of relief. If not, just throw a side session out there in the bullpen, whatever. That's the beauty of Tyler Wells. He has that flexibility, and I feel that's the best way we can utilize them. So, right. Is it worth a patchwork? I should write 4-man rotation. Oh, no. A patchwork starting pitcher by committee for that April 2nd game against the Royals. This is what I was saying. A day game after a night game. You got an off day, 2 of the next 5. So, yeah, if we just sort of went with a committee approach for that one game against the Royals on that third and final game of the series, we have a couple of off days in the next 5. I mean, we've got time for the bullpen to recover, you know? So I feel like you run out like a Cole Urban to start. And maybe if he struggles, you throw Albert Suarez out there. And, you know, between those two guys, I think you can get 5-6 innings in. And then, yeah, maybe 4 guys in the pen are going to throw an inning each. That's not ideal. But I think the benefits are worth, one game having sort of. I mean, look at the Yankees right now. What I'm talking about doing against the Royals on a getaway game is what the Yankees are pretty much having to think about doing on opening day. Just trying to piece together something. Apparently, they're deciding on Nestor Cortez Jr. to take the ball, but who knows? The point is, they can't figure out opening day. All right? So, excuse me. So, right. Oh, great. All right. Come on, Steve. A podcast where you can't stop coughing. This is good. Hold on a sec. Okay. Here's my 26-man roster at the moment. Yeah, that's the plan, Thomas. Apparently, it would mean he would have to sit one extra day of rest. He's on a schedule right now where he would be ready to start like the day before opening day, but there's nothing going on then anyway. But either way, no matter what the Yankees are doing, it's not what they wanted. What they wanted was Marcus Stroman to be a leader and say, yeah, even though it's not on my schedule, I'll be ready. Give me the ball on opening day. You signed me to a free agent contract. The honor of being an opening day starter for the New York Yankees, too good to pass up. But instead he goes, nah, that doesn't really jive with my program. So, yeah, ask somebody else. Enjoy Marcus Stroman, New York. That's all I got to say, okay? And if you go out and get like a Trevor Bauer, or if you go out and sign one of these Scott Boras guys, good luck with that too. I'm telling you right now. If you're a betting person, I'm looking at all these sites and everyone's picking the Yankees to finish first in the East still. Go. I'm not saying put the money on the Orioles, but don't put it on the Yankees. I wouldn't. Yeah, you got Juan Soto, and that's fantastic, and he might have an MVP season. You know who else had an MVP season? Cal Ripken in 1990. You know what the Orioles did that year? I think we went like 84 and 78, didn't make the playoffs. Who gives a darn? Yeah. Yeah, Thomas, I think conventional wisdom around the baseball community is how are the Yankees going to finish first? And yet, if you go to any betting website right now, they've got better odds than anybody else in the East. So that's what I'm saying. If you're into betting, which I'm not, by the way, I don't advocate that. And my God, if my channel actually does grow to the point where I have, ads or sponsors, sports betting is not going to be one of them. I see a lot of successful baseball channels where it feels like they're completely financed by sports betting and sports betting alone, and they spend a lot of time selling their viewers on, hey, here's a free $20 bet. Just I don't know. It's gross. It's gross to me. If you want to bet on sports, fine. Like, I don't judge you for it. But I'm not going to sit here and like wait to make some sort of, anything. If this ever pans out to be successful, I left my previous job because of sports betting, trying to be implemented. I was a writer for NBC Sports, the Premier League soccer division. And a few years ago, I guess, when America basically made sports gambling legal across the board, and everybody can just hop on their phone and use an app and make a bet. Before that all took place, I was approached whether or not I would be willing to transition into writing about stuff for sports betting content, and I said, no, I don't want to be a person responsible for that sort of thing. That's, I write about fantasy sports. Yeah, you might be in a office league where you throw in $50, $100, but that's not like straight up gambling with an app where you just make a impulsive decision to put $1,000 on something while you're sitting on the crapper. Not my cup of tea. Anyway, I digress. You might get used to that when you're listening to a podcast. During the game, no digression. Not enough time. That's the perfect thing about calling a baseball game. You got like 15 seconds between pitches. You can only say so much. Leave me to my own devices, and I go off track. All right, so we are going to build ourselves a team with 14 position players and 12 pitchers. Now, what do we got to do to make things right down the road where we want to balance this back? We want a 5-man rotation back, and we also want Jackson Holliday in with this group. Well, here is issue number 1, and I'll just highlight it right there. Boom. There's your biggest issue. By the way, this roster right here has Kyle Stowers. It has Kobe Mayo, but it doesn't have Jackson Holliday. But it does have Ramon Urias. Folks, we have to trade Ramon Urias. Take whatever you can get for him. Take just some A-ball pitching prospect that the other team thinks has like a 5 to 10% chance of being a useful major leaguer. Just do it. Would you like to see a bird? Would you like to see a bird? Let me look for a bird for you. All right. How's that for a bird, huh? How's that for a bird? Oh, wait. It's just an O. All right, well, there's a bird in there somewhere, okay? God's sakes. That's the poster I'm not happy about. All right, so 2 things we got to do to get this team the way we want it, all right? One is trade Ramon Urias, right? Trade him. Just trade him. Why? Why? Because he's a surplus to requirements. There really is no spot for this guy. Every lineup I've ever constructed, whether it's facing lefties or righties, I can't find a situation where there isn't a better option than Ramon Urias. He's not a bad ball player. Another team could use him. Another team could definitely use this guy. But pretty much what happened to Ramon Urias is that Jordan Westburg showed up. And in my mind, if our best players, our best young talent develops into what they can be, then my vision of an Orioles infield is Ryan Mountcastle at first, Jackson Holliday at second, Gunnar Henderson at short, and then Kobe Mayo at third, which would make Jordan Westburg pretty much the new Ramon Urias, a guy who can play second, he can play third, he can even play short if you need him to. So on days against left-handed starters, you put Westburg in over Holliday. And against some righties, maybe get Mayo a break once or twice a week in these first couple of weeks, and you start Westburg. So you're still getting Westburg 3 or 4 starts a week, and keeping in mind this is early part of the season where there's an off day in there. So he's still playing in more than half the games. And it's a good way to get, the DH pool is going to come down to outfielders, I would assume. Outfielders and then the combo of Mountcastle and O'Hearn. We can look at some of these lineups. But your best DH prospects are, if you're playing Mountcastle and O'Hearn, one of them can DH, right? I don't think it's going to be a straight platoon. O'Hearn is certainly going to be in there against right-handed pitching, and Mountcastle certainly against lefties. But I still think Mountcastle will see his fair share of righties, which means O'Hearn could DH. I don't see it the other way around. O'Hearn's going to sit against lefties. That's clear. So there is a situation where if O'Hearn is not DHing, Mountcastle's at first, then that DH can open up for somebody. Well, I think Anthony Santander would make sense there. You can move him into the DH. He's not the best defensive outfielder. And then you can have like Hayes in left, Mullins in center, and move Cowser over to right. Now, Cowser's left-handed hitting as well, but at least it's a decent defensive. It's an upgrade from Santander on defense. Plus, Kyle Stowers, by the way, can hit lefties, even though he's a lefty himself as well. He's got 7 home runs this spring. The 3 he hit yesterday were the first 3 against a righty. The first 4 he hit this spring were all against lefties. So he's got power against either sided arm, okay? So if we get rid of Urias, did I already get rid of his name? Right. So Urias is the one guy that's going to then become Holiday. So let me just show you what it would look like. Boom. Urias is out. Holiday is in. That's one move, right? By hook or by crook, we just got to get Urias somewhere. I don't think we can just send him to the minors at this point, right? It's either trade or cut bait. But I feel like Urias is not having a bad spring himself either, by the way. It's not that bad of a spring. In fact, look at him. He's right up here in terms. He's got a few home runs. He's hitting 276. The OPS is getting near 1,000. I mean, and this is why I go back to talking about injuries. I mean, one injury and suddenly I'm saying, hey, we need Urias. Like one injury to our infield, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I want Urias back. So that's the one thing. But even if we got rid of Urias and we needed another infielder, we got Connor Norby in the minors. This dude can probably, he's probably like Westberg, shave off 15% or something. He's like 85% of a Westberg. You can get by with that, and he's got room to grow. He's another prospect. Right. So yeah, this is what the 26-man team. I have 14 guys, right? And then Stowers would probably be the DH against lefties. I could start working on some other lineups here. This is lineups that don't include Stowers. I've yet to really build one. Maybe I should. Oh, these are the other things, by the way. You got to cut McKenna. McKenna's done. He's hitting like 136 in the spring. He's just, there's no more options left on the guy, I believe. It's just, it's cut or whatever. There's no trade value. There's nothing. You're just going to be cutting McKenna at the end of the spring. I don't see anything else happen. With Urias, it would be great if you could trade him before opening day. Maybe then you just go ahead and start with Holiday up and forget about the whole service time thing. By the way, going back again to Holiday, God, I'm so all over the place. Again, I wanted to stress that, like, as a front office, you talk to Holiday and you say, look, we're not doing anything to screw you over. In fact, we got new ownership coming in. You see that big contract the Brewers gave Jackson Churio? That guy who's pretty much like you, hasn't had a single major league at bat yet, but big prospect, big expectations. We're going to give you a contract like that, okay? But you just got to hang in there, bite the bullet, go down to Norfolk for a couple of weeks. In the meantime, that's going to allow us a chance to take a look at Kobe Mayo, who I think can help the team, who we think can help the team as a right-handed bat more in the early couple of weeks than your left-handed bat. Nothing against you. It's just about the team. You just be transparent about it. Like, look, we're going to take care of you. We're going to get you a fat contract. Keep in mind, though, we gotta lock up Adley Rutschman. We got to lock up Gunnar Henderson, and we got to do that first. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to offer you a contract like a Jackson Churio-esque contract before Gunnar and Adley are locked up. But just, again, you see what's going on here. There's new ownership coming in. You know they're going to be spending money unlike Angelos did. We're going to take care of you. So just hang in there. Go down for the minors for a couple of weeks. Start raking like you rake. And then as soon as you get called up, unless there's some disaster unforeseen, you're here to stay. All right? Just bite the bullet for 2 weeks, and you're helping out the whole team for years to come. You know? I feel like that's what we should do. Unless we can get rid of Urias by opening day. Now, if we don't get rid of him by opening day, we still got 16 days to trade him. Let's find a trade partner, and that will take care of that roster spot. Now, the other roster spot is, well, Steve, we got to get back to a 13 pitching, a staff of 13 players, 13 and 13. So who else is going to have to go down? Well, that we're going to let the results decide, right? Because the two guys you've started the year with that you weren't even planning on having are Mayo and Stowers, and now you're giving them basically about 13 games to show what they can do. Well, if one of the two completely, just fall on their face, a piece of cake. Send them down, and then bring up that pitcher, Keegan Aiken, to then replace Irvin in long relief, and then Irvin slides back into the rotation. You following me? You following me, folks? You following me? Yeah, just let the results decide. And you let Kobe Mayo and Kyle Stowers know this. They're like, look, there's no real pressure. Well, actually, for Stowers, there is pressure. I guess tell Mayo this. Like, Mayo, look, we're actually calling you up quicker than we planned on, but you are raking so much. We feel like you can help the team right now. We want to see what you can do. But listen, there's no pressure because the odds are you're going to get sent back down to the minors in a couple of weeks. But that's fine. If you hit so well that we're forced to keep you, well, that's a nice problem to have, isn't it? So that's what you tell Mayo. Mayo will be thrilled to have a chance to spend a couple of weeks in the bigs and show what he can do, right? And if he falls on his face and he's like a hole in our lineup, Cowser was the same way last year. When we're trying to get him acclimated into the bigs, he was an automatic out. But we kept on winning anyway. So I think our lineup is strong enough to be able to take a chance on a Mayo or a Stowers where, maybe they are just a spring training fluke, but they're just hitting way too hot to not give them at least one, if not both, a chance to see what they can do in the first couple of weeks of the season. And again, that's going to buy us a little bit of time. And, we can use both of them if we just work around having one less pitcher. Thomas, you've heard all this explanation. What are your thoughts about my approach? And by the way, Bautista, I think the current timetable is August. So, yeah, he should be back by September for sure for the stretch. But as you know, with surgery, there's recovery and rehab, and if there's any setbacks, that's going to delay it. But if there aren't any setbacks, yeah, I think they're looking at August, which I'm hoping for because I don't know about Craig Kimbrell once we get to October. We'll see how he does. I know a lot of people. Basically, if you've ever had Craig Kimbrell on your team, you're like, oh, God, I can't stand Craig Kimbrell. But look, come on, folks. When you're a long career closer, even the best, other than Mariano Rivera, all right, and who's going to hold a candle to Rivera? You look at guys like Lee Smith. You look at guys like who are some of the earlier entries in from Suter. A lot of these, closers that you see in the Hall of Fame. You look at their seasons, and they've got some pretty crappy seasons in there, usually. Again, Rivera may be the exception, but closers can be volatile. They can have their up years and their down years. But what Kimbrell does have is longevity. He's got plenty of postseason experience, and he's racking up the saves. Whether you like it or not, he's on that all-time career saves list. Yeah, Thomas is chiming in with pretty much the same sentiment. Like I'm saying, pretty much if you're a fan of a team that has had Kimbrel, unless it was the Braves back in like his first 3-4 years where he was absolutely unhittable, then yeah, you've definitely felt the anxiety of having a Keg Kimbrel close out games. But at the end of the day, if the guy was no good, I don't think what is he, like 36 years old now? I don't think this guy is going to get a $10 million contract and be the the closer for a team that just won 100 games, unless the organization still believes in him. And I'm sorry, but I've looked at all the moves Mike Elias has made since he's been the GM, and it's hard to really point to one and go, wow, you really screwed up there. So I feel like Kimbrel, even if he's, okay, what did I say, 36? Okay, fine. Maybe he turns 36 this season. I don't know. It's in the ballpark, no pun intended. But yeah, the thing with Kimbrel is, look, he's a one-year stopgap. If he really does start to stink, we do have a couple of guys in the pen that could step up. Obviously, Cano is sort of the I keep saying conventional wisdom. I've used it too much, but that's the one that would make the most sense, simply because when Bautista first went down last year, he was the guy we went to in the ninth. Although his numbers in the ninth, for whatever reason, not as solid as they were in the eighth. Unfortunately, I thought our best closing option, if Kimbrel wasn't any good, we traded him away as part of a package for Corbin Burns. I'm talking about D.L. Hall. I think D.L. Hall's got closer stuff, but we sent him packing. So I'm willing to bite that bullet knowing that we got Corbin Burns in that one. So, yeah. All right. So I guess I'm probably going to need to wrap this up here pretty soon. And I might, for those of you that watch me on my other channel, I might pop on there for half an hour before I head out to do my immigration thing. But yeah, long story short, right? You're looking at Adley Rutschman, right? Obviously, McCann is a backup. That's locked. Mountcastle and O'Hearn are both making it. That's locked. They can platoon or they can both play. Westberg is in. That's a lock. Holiday, let's just call him Urias for now, but we know that Urias will eventually be Holiday, right? And then you got Gunnar Henderson, Jorge Mateo. That's your super utility guy. He just played in the outfield in the last spring training game. Made somewhat of a clumsy-looking diving catch, but it was a diving catch all the same. We know he's got speed. Mayo at third. Obviously, Westberg would be at third if, say, Holiday was up, because it looks like Holiday is going to be dedicated to second. Henderson dedicated to short. Westberg would flip over to third. Hazen left, Mullins in center, and Santander in right. With Cowser, I think, as our fourth outfielder, and then your DH is Kyle Stowers. I don't know how much he would be playing in the field. Pretty much. And the thing is, if you traded Stowers, you could still maintain this entire approach that I'm talking about, I think, and just throw Heston Kjerstad in there. And then he'll be the left-handed outfielder / DH, right? Now, Kjerstad isn't ripping it up as much as Stowers is, but we know that he's big in our future plans. So, yeah, again, I would put Urias on the market. I would put Stowers on the market and see what you can get back, because we just got too many guys. We got too many guys. And I feel like Stowers, hey, if he takes this great spring and turns it into just this ridiculous career for another team, more power to him. Congrats. I'm not going to sit there and go, what were we thinking? Because, again, he's 26 years old right now. He's 26. He's had several years in the minors. You know, and he has been sort of on that cusp. He just hasn't gotten over the hump. You know? Again, it's spring. You might have some people out there going, yeah, this guy's got 30 home run potential. Let's sign him. Let's trade for him. Or maybe he's a guy that, just had a hot spring. I mean, you look at like his strikeout to walk rate. He doesn't walk at all. He strikes out a lot. There's things about his game that don't necessarily appeal to me, but at the same time, for a DH for a couple of weeks, if he's this hot, I'll throw him out there. So let's say we're facing a right-handed pitcher on opening day. Now that we're looking at Stowers and Mayo in the lineup, how would I build this lineup? Would I want Gunnar leading off? Would I want Mullins has been a little scary to me. I might want Rutschman still to lead off here. So let's say we go with Rutschman, right? Maybe I can, of course, he's a switch hitter. I'd probably go Henderson batting third, I think. I'm going to keep the couple of righties in this lineup down near the bottom. Then you're probably looking at Santander, which pretty accustomed to hitting third in the lineup last season. Another switch hitter. Now here's where I might sort of lean, even though I feel like Ryan O'Hearn is the better hitter against a right-handed lineup. Yeah, let's go ahead and put him in there. Why not? Let's see what happens. All right, but I'm going to put him, is he going to be the DH or Stout? You know what? I'm going to play Ryan O'Hearn at first base. I'm going to sit Ryan Mountcastle on opening day. How about that? This is how crazy this lineup's going to be. We're going to have lineups where we're sitting Ryan Mountcastle and we're hitting Austin Hayes ninth. Austin Hayes was an all-star last year. And I'm telling you right now, against right-handed pitching, he's our ninth best hitter. That's how ridiculous this lineup's getting. All right, first base. Yeah, I'm going to put O'Hearn in there. All right. Another lefty bat. Now I'm probably going to want to put a righty bat in there. What are some of these previous lineups looking like? Now, I've got one where O'Hearn's in. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. Hitting fifth. Kobe Mayo. Let's see what he can do. Your first righty bat. I'll come right back with a lefty. What do you got? I think I'm going to go DH. Here. And I'm going to give Stowers a chance. You know what? Or maybe I'm going Cowser. Or you know what? Maybe Cowser can hit. Maybe Hayes sits too. All right. Stowers DH. Oh, sorry. Another lefty. All right. So we still got Mullins. We still got Hayes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mullins really hasn't been hitting much in the spring. And then we also got Westberg. I'm going to put Westberg in at second base. Then Mullins in center. And yeah, this is ridiculous. I mean, I guess you could make a case to put Hayes 7th and Westberg 9th. But my God, the fact that I'm even constructing a lineup that looks really good, that has two guys that were all-stars last year at the bottom of the order. Fitz, you still with me? Look at this lineup. And this doesn't even have Jackson Holliday in it. Imagine you got Holliday in there for Westberg. You put him right here. Another lefty bat against a right-handed pitcher. You got two righties in the whole lineup. One of them was an all-star, and the other one's just raking. And let's say eventually, okay, Mayo doesn't work out. All right, take Mayo out. Move, let's say, how about this? We don't even need Hayes. How about we got Cowser? Yet another lefty bat. Right? And just move these guys up. And then round it out with Westberg playing third. All right? One righty batting ninth in the lineup. Can you imagine as a right-handed pitcher just basically never getting a break? Thomas, when you look at the fact that 1, his speed has been diminished because of hamstring issues. 2, his average has been down. 3, he's not having a great spring. 4, he also got injured again this spring. I would love to have Mullins at the top of the order. I would. But until he can show that the legs are working well or that, he can hit better than like 235, which was pretty much what he was doing the second half of last season. I don't see a reason to put him at the top of the order. Not when you come out with one of the best on-base percentage guys in baseball and then immediately followed up with a guy who can drive that guy in with a double, then immediately following up with a switch hitter with that home run power, and then just a parade of lefties. This lineup is sick. It's sick. And this is the one without Mayo. If you make Westberg Mayo, that's just more power in that lineup, too. Right in the middle. You put that one right-hander right in the middle. Now, let's say Stowers eventually goes down. Well, okay, fine. Let's put Mountcastle in. Boom. He can DH. There's a righty. Still only 2 righties in the lineup. There's Holiday in. No, yeah. It's just, oh, God. A plethora of options. An abundance of riches. It's crazy to say as an Orioles fan. It really is. And, of course, saying it makes you feel like you're jinxing yourself. But, look, Page don't lie. Page don't lie. We got some nice problems to have with this lineup. I'm going to just do one against lefties, by the way. Because, again, if we got all these lefties, is it going to be too heavy? Let's see. Let's see if we can build ourselves a lineup with the players that we're going to break camp with. At least that I would hope. We still put Atley at the top. All right. Now, would I want Gunnar second in a lineup like this? This might be a lineup where I would actually move Mullins up to second. Because in this situation, I feel like whereas Gunnar is going to just... Against righties, we're just going to rake because of all the left-handed pop we've got or switch hitter or whatever. But against lefties, we do have to get a little more cute, I think. And I feel like if you put Mullins in the 2-hole, as a 2-hole hitter, you got a job to do, If Adley's got a good on-base percentage, he's going to be on base a lot. Mullins, his job is not necessarily to drive him in. His job is to move him over or, play a little hit and run, do something like that. Maybe not necessarily put the pressure on him to, get the big hit. Just keep the line moving. I feel like that's a spot for Mullins and on a lefty versus lefty situation. Maybe he lays down a bunt, tries to leg it out. There's just things I feel like he does better in that spot. I guess you stick with Santander, and he might not even be the right fielder on this. He might wind up being the DH. We'll see. But I'll go ahead and put him in right field for now. Then Mountie has to be our cleanup hitter. Ryan Mountcastle absolutely hammers left-handed pitching. I'll go ahead and put him at first. Okay, that's already there. What am I doing? Oh, righty. I'm messing this up. Switch. If we got Mayo, again, what do we got him here for if not to face some lefties? I'll put Mayo in there at third base. Another righty. Okay. But then again, I might want to break up the righties with another lefty bat if we got a lot of lefties left over. I'm just going to put names down as I think of them. Austin Hayes. Here's a guy that, again, against lefties, maybe he barely makes the lineup against righties, but he's got a spot against lefties. Another right-handed bat. All right. That leaves 3 more spots. Westberg. Here's another right-handed bat. Where's he going to play? I'm sorry. I was saying, hey, we need a lefty bat to break this up. Okay, obviously you're going to go ahead and put Gunnar Henderson like in the 5 spot. I like him in the 5 spot against lefties. He did start to show better results against left-handed pitching the last couple of months of the season, but man, he was absolutely dreadful. He was actually the worst hitter in the lineup against lefties amongst all the regulars. Wow, maybe I can afford to hit Mullins lower with all these righties. Okay, so Rutschman, Mullins, Santander, Mountcastle, Henderson, Mayo, Hayes. O'Hearn definitely sits. He doesn't hit lefties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So 2 more spots. What do we got? We still got a DH, and then we still have a second baseman. Oh yeah, so second base, Westberg. Right? And then the DH might be a left-handed bat, which is like, wow, a left-handed bat and DH? That seems like a waste, but, you know, like if it's Stowers, say, I mean, he's shown that he can do it. Or what you could do, I like this better. I would like a situation where Santander is DHing sometimes. Because I don't think he's a serviceable corner outfielder. I wouldn't necessarily say he's above average. I would say he's a little bit below. But if you put him at the DH spot against lefties, open up that right field spot and hit it lower in the order. Hell, you can even put him 9th if you want. If you don't, but I think Kowser here would make sense. Now, to be fair, against left-handed pitching, this lineup doesn't look as strong as righties. But we're going to be facing righties, what, 65% of the time or so, right? So, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, these are players. Again, this doesn't even. Okay, Jackson Holliday actually is a part of this one, but you could manipulate that. But yeah, basically against righties, only 2 righties need to be in the lineup, maybe 3. And against lefties, only 3 lefties in the lineup. You got to love those switch hitters and the ability. And as you can see, no 2 righties ever hitting back-to-back. No 2 lefties ever hitting back-to-back. So opponents' bullpens, they can't sit there and go, oh, they got 3 lefties coming up. Go get our lefty guy. We'll just shut that inning down. No, you can't with this lineup. You know, you can say, okay, this guy might be good for 2 out of 3 guys, but not all 3. Hey there, Katron. How you doing? All right, it's coming up on 9 a.m. here. I guess I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But, guys, I just want to sit here and go over the Orioles lineup and maybe explain who I feel would make the most sense in making the opening day roster. By the way, we never really did go over the rest of the pitching staff. Again, Irvin is, for me, a long reliever with a 4-man staff if we can get away with it until the 13th against the Brewers. Otherwise, he's your 5th starter. And then Aiken comes in as your long relief lefty. Your long relief righty / mop-up guy, Suarez. I think he has the job over Julio Teheran at the moment. These are your middle reliever, low-leverage lefties. Lefty, Cianel Perez. This is how I like to divide up the bullpen. Your middle relief, high-leverage lefty is Danny Coulombe. So, in other words, you know, if it's a tight ball game, if it's later in the inning, in the game, you're looking for Coulombe. If it's a little earlier, or maybe just need to get 1 out or something, you're looking at Perez. Your middle relief, long or low leverage righty is looking like Mike Baumann right now. There was some thought to maybe Jacob Webb taking that spot. Let's take a look one more time at some of these pitching numbers in the spring training. Nick Vespi is another potential, although I think, is he a lefty? Vespi's a lefty, right? No, he's a righty. No, he's a lefty. Okay, yeah, he's a lefty. Okay, just making sure. All right, so probably not a spot for Vespi. I don't think we need 3 middle relief lefties. We want to keep that balance. 2 middle relief lefties, 2 middle relief righties. Dylan Tate is your high leverage middle reliever. He's looking good from the right side. He's looking good in spring training, recovering from a full season missed to injury. And then, of course, pretty much standard in terms of what everybody thinks will be the case. Ynier Cano will pitch the 8th. Craig Kimbrell will come out and attempt to close. Okay. I think that pretty much covers it, guys. Again, cut McKenna. He's done. Trade Ramon Urias. We have to. There's nothing he can do that we don't already have a better option with. Jordan Westberg is Ramon Urias, only better and younger. Let's go, right? Unless we can trade Urias before opening day, then send Holiday down to the minors, buy us some time, and let's trade him. And let's go with a 4-man rotation when we look at this early schedule between the off days and the ease of schedule. I say we go with a 4-man rotation, and then come this weekend, the 13th, Game 2 against the Brewers. Get the hell out of my way. I can't stand this website. Even when I exit, it won't get away. I'm Xing you away, and you won't go away. You know what? Get bent. Like, what do you want me to do? The worst web page I've ever seen. Sorry. Let me save my freakouts for the regular season. All right, so yeah, there you go, guys. Maybe I should mention some other things. Are there any concerns? I mean, Corbin Burns has an ERA over 9, folks, in 10 2/3 spring innings. But, you know, is he working on stuff? I guess so. What's to work on, though? You got a great arsenal. Stick with it. I mean, he's not walking anybody, really. Two walks in 10 2/3. He's just giving up a lot of hits. 14 hits, including 5 home runs. That's a little concerning. A home run every other inning. So, yeah. But, of course, he's going to be our opening day starter. No ifs, ands, or buts. Grayson's doing okay. ERA under 4, but the whip's kind of high. We want to get those walks down. 7 walks in 11 2/3 innings. Dean Kramer, decent. Compared to his other guys, pretty good. 4.38 ERA, 11 strikeouts and 12 1/3. So the K's are looking all right. He's given up a couple of homers, though. Or, I'm sorry, those are hit batters. He's given up 0 homers. That's actually impressive. That's good to see. And then Tyler Wells, I believe he's going to make another start here pretty soon, but 10 2/3. Look at that, .75 whip. 1.69 ERA. Tyler Wells is ready to go. Tyler Wells is criminally underrated. The man led the American League in whip in the first half of the season last year. Nobody talked about it, unless you're me. Some other notables. Again, Tehran struggling a bit, but, you know, we weren't expecting much except potential depth, maybe a long man out of the bullpen. It's probably going to come down again between Andrew Suarez and Tehran. Here they are back to back, so you can see they pretty much pitched the same amount of innings. Suarez, though, might be a better option. Or am I looking at... I'm sorry. I should be looking at Albert Suarez. I'm looking at the wrong Suarez. Yeah, I'm talking about the guy who has 16 strikeouts in 11 innings. Yeah, this is the guy I'm thinking about. All right. Cade Povich got some experience there in the spring breakout. He's looking okay. .29 ERA, 7 innings of work. Hasn't given up a home run, just 1 earned run. Nick Vespi looks fantastic. Chase McDermott. Perhaps he'll come into the thinking, you know, depending on how healthy we are. Maybe he gets a call up at some point this season, but so far, 10 Ks in 6 2/3 innings, an ERA of nothing. Opponents hitting just .208 off of him. You got to like that. I'm not even going to mention this guy's name. I don't care that it says the numbers are okay. This guy's dead to me. And then, yeah, Kimbrell came out and got absolutely obliterated in one of his appearances. Let's see, he's made 5 appearances now in the spring. The ERA is now at 9, but that's basically, he gave up like 3 or 4 runs in 1 inning. And then the next like 3 or 4 appearances have been fine. Cano, only 4 innings. Hopefully we'll get a few more in there before we ramp up, but he looks okay. And then one more quick look at the hitters. Again, we've looked at Kobe Mayo. We've looked at, let's just get it with versus at bats here. Tyler Nevin leads all Orioles in at bats. I don't plan on him making the team. Yeah, 300 average is nice. Don't plan on him making the team. Kjerstad, again, he's only hitting 214. The slugging is atrocious. He's no homers, 1 double, 1 extra base hit, and 42 at bats. That is not good. Also, 12 strikeouts to only 1 walk. Yeah, this is why I don't have Kjerstad breaking camp with the team. You know, I think he's got a great bat. I think he's going to wind up being pretty much only a DH. I don't trust him in the field, and I feel like if he just focuses on crushing the baseball, that's his best shot at a good major league career. I just don't know if he fits in our team because I like having a DH sort of open for anyone, not a dedicated DH, but we'll see. Holiday's been getting plenty of at-bats, average right there at 300, just where you want it to be, with the OPS just under 900. I mean, these are solid stats, but they're not like crazy Kobe Mayo or Colton Cowser stats where it's like, well, you'd be crazy to not break camp with this guy. Maybe you can still convince Holiday, hey, dude, give us a couple of weeks, all right? Also, 14 strikeouts. It looks like that leads the team, so he is striking out a lot. I mean, the average is there. The OPS is acceptable. You'd love to have that from a rookie playing middle infield. But, yeah, let's keep an eye on those strikeouts for him. Westberg also striking out a lot, but we know what to expect pretty much from him. He's got a couple of homers already in the spring. Santander, the average isn't there. Hopefully he's just, saying I'm a veteran. I know what my job is, and he's just working on stuff at the plate. There's Stowers, of course, putting up those crazy stats. Cal's are right next to him. Mateo looking okay. Couple of home runs already in the spring, and no stolen bases. What's wrong with this picture? This guy's supposed to be stealing bases and have no power. O'Hearn hitting 281. Doesn't have a home run in the spring, but, 6 walks to 8 strikeouts. I like that. He's drawing walks. 395 on base percentage. Fantastic. I'll take it. The pop will come. McCann, I'm not too concerned about. If he hits 233 this season, that's fine as long as he's okay in the field. Rutschman, 241. Nothing too impressive, but I'm not worried about him whatsoever. Urias, again, he's got 3 home runs in the spring. The OPS is up there near 1,000. So, again, let's trade this guy. You can show another team these numbers and say, look, this guy's versatile. This guy's got a hot spring. He's still only in his 20s. What do you want for him? Mountie, Hayes, 160. He did have that 1 home run. I remember watching that one. But, yeah, Austin Hayes definitely struggling. Gunnar Henderson, of course, got off to a late start, but he's up to 25 at-bats now. And, of course, he's raking 440, 600 slugging, OPS over 1,000. And then you start getting down to guys that, with the exception of Cedric Mullins, probably no one that you're going to think about making the team. So Mullins, yeah, he needs to work up his at-bats. I mean, it's possible on opening day Mullins isn't ready or just isn't the best option. And then what are you going to do about center field there? Are you okay with Colton Cowser in center? Because that's pretty much that's the one weakness with this Orioles roster that I'm putting together is that if Ced Mullins is hurt, which we've seen it happen, or he needs a day off, we don't have a great option unless you want to say Mateo can handle it. Obviously, Mateo is going to have the range. He's got the speed to cover the ground, but he's not. Nobody's going to be Ced Mullins. At least not from our roster. But it is something to think about. Are we trying to load up too many bats at the sake of, having a good defense? And, center field is a very important position, don't you know? Yeah, and once we get down into here, it's just a bunch of, like John Rhodes. He's a prospect. He has a couple of home runs. He's a guy to look out for. Enrique Bradfield, of course, was our first pick in the previous draft. He's had some time at the plate, just the one hit. That's probably that bunt single he had. But he's got 2 steals. That's what he's going to come here to do, hopefully. Hit leadoff, hit for a decent average, steal a lot of bases. All right, that's it. I've gone way over time. Hey, thanks for listening, watching, whatever you've been doing. And by the way, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. Everyone who was here live, it looks like, is gone. But if you're watching this later, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Trust me. The longer this goes on, the more, what do you call it? Structure there will be to these things. And I'll get a little more, used to doing this. But I call a good game, I tell you that. So look for my stuff on my YouTube page. If you want to see, there's a couple of spring training games I've called. There's also some turn back the clock games I did at the very beginning before spring even got here, when I'm just starting my channel up, just watching some old games and calling them. And yeah. Also, hit the like button if you don't mind. You can leave a comment down below, but I do look forward to seeing you on another day. This is the Bird Watcher. I'll chirp at you later. All right? Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, I could have framed myself better, too, instead of just a head floating. Yeah, that wasn't great. This has been the Bird Watcher, okay? Orioles baseball. My God, one more week of spring training, and then it's on. Well, one week and then like a 3-day of nothing, and then it's on like on that Thursday. My God. 10 days? 10 days? 10 days! I can't wait. Okay, take care, guys. See you later.